We just want to say a little bit like who we are. So you told me we were supposed to call this morning and have a talk this morning privately because you were saying that you were done and you had some ideas. And I was just like, I, this latest killing, it's completely expected by me. And I've been saying, people are like, what is it going to take? And I'm like, they got to kill white people. They got to kill white women.
Yep.
And just, I think for me, because I know how they do the cover ups and watching them do it, and then I'm like, okay, next they're going to do this, next they're going to do that. And then they do all of it. And just watching, I'm used to seeing the Border Patrol and ICE and CBP come out and say, disparage the victim and paint the agent as the victim. That's how they always work it. But to watch Secretary Noem sit there and say that
Yeah.
and then watch JD Vance fucking sit there and say that shit. And I just, when he excuses his violence with, well, 6 months ago he was drugged by a car. I was run over actually by a Border Patrol agent on Border Patrol property on purpose. Does that then give me the right to anytime a Border Patrol agent comes near me with a car to shoot them? No. And
Yeah.
by the way, I don't have guns, just so you know. I'm not threatening ICE agents or anything. But
Here's a
this is
question
just
I
fucking
have.
ridiculous.
Here's a question I have for you, Jen, because here's the part. When are we going to start believing women? Right?
Mm.
You've been, and that's the part. That's the part that just continues to sit with me, as you say. You have been sounding the alarm on this for how long?
On this specifically, at least 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
And imagine how many people. I don't know the answer to that because I haven't had the time to look. But imagine how many other people have died. Right? As a
Over
result,
300, over 300 from the Border
really?
Patrol alone.
So you're trying, okay, so process that, everybody. You're like, yeah, I have processed it. But for the rest of us who haven't, over 300 lives have been taken since you first tried to sound the alarm on this.
Yeah.
Maybe we should start believing women the first time. Maybe that would be a good idea.
The most horrible thing about this that kills me, I think, I mean, aside from her death, that is the most horrible thing, but, like, the information is out there. Everybody knows this. Like, us on the southern border are watching all this going, "Mm." And it's just what we've seen all these years, and not only that, HBO has a documentary out about it
Right.
that shows that Rodney Scott was about this exact same thing called critical incident, showing how they do this. And yet the Democrats, even Senator Padilla, who is in the film, refuses to say one word about it. Why are the Democrats not jumping on this? This is an opportune time. There's a film out about it that shows how they do it. And when you watch it, you'll go, oh, that's what Secretary Nunn was doing. Oh, that's what JD Vance was doing. Oh, that's why they drugged the body, because they're contaminating the evidence. This is how they always work. Now they're not going to, I'm sorry, I'm getting upset. They're not going to cooperate with
Right.
the actual investigators. Typical. All
Right.
this is typical. And having them go to the right-wing media to then spout that she was some kind of leftist radical terrorist
Which is
bullshit.
ridiculous.
It's the same thing they've been doing down here for decades upon decades, and then we break it, we make it into the film, it finally gets dumped during the holidays so nobody will see it. I'm hearing people in Texas cannot see it except for certain times. You can't tape it. And then, unfortunately, HBO leaves the impression that that chief who did that case and covered up the killing of Anastasio Hernandez Rojas, they make you think that he's an old chief. He's in charge of CBP right now, which means he's in charge of the teams again. And we know that CBP is in charge of this mass deportation
But that is
because
the
they said
part.
ICE was not strong enough. So they're going to put Border Patrol and CBP in charge.
But that is the part that I think people need to, like, if we break that down. So for anybody that has not seen that, well, as soon as I found out, I watched it on the day that it debuted. Hell, I signed up for HBO because it was worth every cent to be able to access it, right? And I have to tell you guys, if you have not seen it, go see it. jump on, catch it on HBO. I don't know the exact time that it's on. I think it will depend on where you're located, but you can find it. What is the actual name of it again, Jen, so people know what to look for?
It's
The
called Critical Incident.
Yep, it's called Critical Incident, which is the name of the, um,
The
is it
teams.
the team? That
Critical Incident Team. Yeah.
unlawful team, right?
Unlawful and illegal.
It is
And at the end, the other thing they do, Lisa, is at the end, they put on a title page, they say, "The teams were disbanded under the Biden administration." While that's technically true, what they failed to tell you, because 'cause I've had people go, "Oh, great, they were disbanded. We don't have to worry about it." No, they were rolled into the Biden administration covered up the cover-up teams by rolling them into CBP's Office of Professional Responsibility, which
which
is their internal affairs. So Rodney, the guy, is in charge of it again.
so understand, like, make the connection, but I don't think a lot of people are connecting those dots, because if they
No,
were,
they're
they're not
not.
they're not connecting the dots, and we need to elevate what she is saying right now to literally everyone. Every single person needs to know that. Jen, you should, in my opinion, every single person with a platform should be interviewing you. You should be having conversations with everyone across the board. You should be on every national news channel, and you should be sharing this widely and mentioning the critical incident show that's on HBO that everyone can watch. Because I'm telling you, once you watch that, I am. It is stunning to see exactly what just happened with Renee Nicole Good play out in real time right in front of my eyes. Just
Yeah.
exactly what, like, I watched.
Mhm.
And they're talking, I mean, their little process played right out, right in front of our eyes on TV once I saw it. And I'm not in Border Patrol. I don't know anything about till I watched the show, and then I watched exactly what happened on HBO play out in real time in the response to Renee Nicole Good's murder. And let's keep saying what it is. It was an execution of a white middle class woman after dropping her son off at school. So if they can do that and get away with it with that white middle class woman, I'm just going to say it right here and now, nobody's safe.
Well, and people were like, "Well, it was caught on video and they'll go to court." And I'm like, "You guys don't understand how this works." They
Yeah,
have a huge system that they have gotten away with. The thing about the film on HBO, the Critical Incident film, is that that was caught on film. It was caught on a lot of film, and they still got away with it. They
right.
still got away with it. There was, just recently, a Border Patrol agent, Juan Pritchner, down here in Boulevard, took us 2 years for them to finally file charges on him, and it was because and only because what he was accused of, revealing himself while in uniform to women and sexually assaulting them, was caught on YouTube video when some YouTubers went down to the border, and he just happened to be there, and that's the only reason why they would finally charge him. But then in the end, they have video of him doing exactly what the victims are saying, multiple victims, migrants and US citizens are saying that he's been doing. And the judge goes, "Well, I just don't think it's that big of a deal for him to whip it out and show people." And they let him go. They let him go. And that is what happens down here. And that is what's coming to your communities. And that's why we've been warning you for so many years that this is coming. And then they put the guy in charge of all these cover ups in charge of CBP. I mean, they are bringing border justice, if you can call it that, injustice. They're bringing it to your cities. And it's so funny too, because I woke up this morning and I'm seeing lots of young men put out things. I've discovered that Border Patrol in 2013 was warned about agents getting in front of cars on purpose to
Oh,
cause
imagine that.
shootings.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, yeah, I've been writing about it for freaking a decade now. Yeah. So
Yeah.
they've all of a sudden discovered basically what I've been writing about forever, and it gets them likes and all that, which is fine. I mean, the more people that spread it, the better. But This has been out here for so fucking long, and it's just sad to watch, like, this is an opportune time for Democrats to say, "This is what's going on. We need to hold them accountable." And yet Padilla won't say a word. I keep hitting him on Blue Sky. Won't say a word. AOC won't say a word. Veronica
Really?
Escobar
Okay,
won't
you know
say
what?
a word.
EOC won't say a word. So
No,
that's
nobody will talk about it.
that's the part, guys, and that's the part that I like. So
They should be calling for Rodney Scott's impeachment right now.
that is the part, guys, that everybody needs to be aware of. When I criticize the Democratic Party, it is for things like this, because what they're
Feckless.
showing me right now is like they're the other side of the same rotten coin in a lot of ways. So we cannot just give our blind um, loyalty and faith to the Democratic Party, thinking they're going to help get us out of everything. I understand that they're a much better option, but the notion that someone like AOC, you're telling me, who is a woman, who is a
Yeah.
fighter, I love her, right?
Yeah, I
And
love her too.
it's really disappointing for me
No
to hear.
politician has called me about this, and I write more about these cases than anybody else. I
Well, they
mean,
need to
like,
start calling you. So for anybody out there that happens to have any connection, or even if you don't, start uplifting these conversations with Jenn Budd and make recommendations that someone reach out and start talking about Rodney Scott, right?
mhm,
Who is the
yep.
head of the CBP really quickly. Well, that doesn't have to be quickly. We're live. People can be. Can you kind of just give a background of what happened with Ignacio? Explain that, like what had happened and what the HBO series, or I should say the
Give a
documentary.
synopsis.
Yeah, give tell people what the documentary was about on HBO, and then you'll see the parallels.
So Anastasio Hernandez Rojas was an undocumented migrant who lived in San Diego for 20 years. He was a pool tiler, and he ended up he was back in Mexico with his brother, and he ended up crossing illegally to get back to his family.
Mhm.
And don't even fucking at me with, oh, he was an illegal. Don't even at me with that. And he was at the Chula Vista Processing Center here in San Diego, which is kind of like down towards the border.
Mhm.
And an agent told him to throw his water into the trash, and so he did. But he misunderstood him, and he started pouring the jug into the trash. And the agent took offense to that, so he pushes him against the wall and he kicks his legs out to search him. Anastasio had a previous injury in his foot with a pin in it, surgical pin, and it damaged him. So there's video of him. He's not belligerent in the processing center. He's just pointing to his foot and saying, no, you're going to take me to a doctor here because you caused this, and he can't go back to Mexico without them fixing this because he has to work for his family. And the agents kept saying he's acting different than most of the migrants, which in agent speak means he's uppity and he's demanding his rights. That's what they're saying.
Oh, that is
And
that the translation?
yeah, and so they end up the supervisor denies his right to get medical attention, and so he ends up um, they end up forcing him into a car, and they take him to the San Ysidro port of entry to push him back across and say he voluntarily returned, and he wouldn't sign the paper and stuff like that to say so they just, refused to sign, and they try to push him across, and he's like, "No, I'm not going. You're going to do this." Two ICE agents see this, the two Border Patrol agents, they get on top of him, they start beating him, they hit him with batons, they're standing on top of him, you can hear him screaming, help me," in Spanish. He's
Brutal.
calling for his mother, he's begging them.
Ayúdame, yeah.
Yeah, he's begging them to stop, and then they see that at the time in the area called Whiskey 2 at the port of entry had a stairway that went up in a spiral, and people are crossing back into Mexico, and they're saying, "Hey, stop beating that guy," in both English and Spanish, and they start filming. And you can hear the agents in the video go, you keep walking. This is none of your business. And so they're telling people to not look. And then they realize there's too many people. So then they drag him to try and hide what they're doing. And then CBP officers, about 12 to 15 CBP officers. So you have ICE, CBP, and Border Patrol beating the fuck out of this man. They claim later on that he was unhandcuffed and flying through the air and karate kicking and chopping people and this and
Oh,
that.
I saw
Now,
the video. I
the
saw
video,
yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
I saw the video. I watched it myself. So on the HBO, documentary, you can clearly see he is not resisting. He's lying flat on his stomach, correct? And
Correct.
they are encircled around him,
Hmm.
and you can hear him. He's being tortured.
And they're circled around him in the Rodney King style. And you see agents go forward to kick him. You see one agent who's Philip Kraselwitz, who was a Border Patrol agent in plain clothes. You can see him because he's wearing tan pants versus everybody else who's in uniform. And he comes up and he rips Anastasio's pants off. And people have said, why did they do that? To humiliate him. That's why they did it, because they think he's a fucking animal. And
Mhm.
that's how they described him. They described him in testimony as an alligator doing death rolls, trying to get CBP officers into death rolls so that he could kill them. He was handcuffed behind his back. He even had his feet tied, and they were sitting on top of him. And then when they're all in the circle around him, he's laying on his side in the fetal position, handcuffed behind his back, hogtied, and Agent Vales, Vales, actually officer because he's a CBP officer, all of a sudden pulls out
They're
his
still
taser.
working, by the way,
Yeah,
just
and
to be
pulls out
clear,
his
everyone. They're still
pull
working.
yeah, and pulls out his taser and yells real loudly for everybody watching, "Stop resisting!" And then he starts tasing him. You're legally only allowed to tase people for only less than 5 seconds because anything more can cause a heart attack. Well, 2 of the tasings were for 5 seconds. One was for 13 and another one I think was for over 10 seconds. They killed that man. They killed him, and it took a CBP supervisor, or actually it was the chief of the port who came down and said, "He's not breathing. You need to start resuscitation right now." So then they start resuscitation. They call for an ambulance. As soon as they call dispatch, Border Patrol dispatch, and say, "We need an ambulance," that is when the Border Patrol dispatch immediately calls the critical incident teams that cover all this up. They did not tell San Diego PD. They did not report this to the FBI. They did not report this to DHS-OIG. They did not report this to anybody. They kept it quiet and said it was a medical emergency.
Yep.
And then they proceeded to wipe the scene clean and keep it away from San Diego PD. Then they got rid of video footage because there was plenty of video footage, and they got rid of it. Rodney Scott on camera says that the camera was a dummy. What they don't tell you in the film is that the critical incident team gave footage from the exact spot that showed where he was beaten, but they gave it to him at the wrong time. It was an hour too early. They did that on purpose because in Border Patrol, our cameras erase after 14 hours on purpose.
See, and people don't know all the
All the
all
tricks.
the
I know
tricks.
the tricks. That's
You
how
know
I
all
know
the
it.
tricks, you've talked about the tricks, and then then after this happened, there were some investigators on Ignacio's case that looked into it, correct, which it was on this, and that's kind of how you got brought in because people had reached out to you, correct?
Yeah, so the case had gone through, they denied any criminal charges, and then and the same thing that you're seeing in the good case right now,
Uh-huh.
Border Patrol, CBP, and ICE refused to cooperate. And they would not give the San Diego PD, who was the official investigators because they have jurisdiction, would not give them all of the evidence. And Rodney Scott even used illegally, it's against the law, he used an immigration administrative subpoena to trick the medical examiner into giving them the medical investigation when it was complete. which there's only one, and that's to go to the actual criminal case. The medical examiner is just kind of an idiot and gave it to him. And then the San Diego PD had to beg Rodney Scott to give them the medical, because they're supposed to have it. They're the investigators, and he refused.
Mhm.
He refused to give it to him. So he's hiding evidence. He's covering up a homicide. And they even refused to look at the video that came out 2 years later, the one where you see them all circled and stuff. OIG refused to look at that, so they wouldn't file criminal charges. They did get a civil settlement, which was a little bit of money for the children, and nothing for the wife because they weren't legally married in the eyes of American law. And so the case was essentially dead until the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, which is a commission of Canada, the United States,
Right.
Central and South America. And they found, and the United States is still a member, and they found that Rodney Scott and his teams should be investigated for covering up a murder. And the United States has just been like, whatever. They won't even address it. So, like, the Democrats have all this fucking ammunition right now. Right now, they have all this ammunition.
So, Jen,
Nada que ver.
prior to when you being brought in, were you aware of CIT? Did you ever hear of it?
Yeah, I
You
was aware of it. I wrote about it in my book. I had witnessed, I had been involved in responding to 2 shootings. And so I talk about that in my book. One shooting happened right on the border. The agent was lying. He got afraid when the migrants started running south on him, and he pulled his gun and started shooting. He claimed he was rocked, but there was no evidence of it. I went south into Mexico because back then we did that kind of thing, to check and see if anybody was injured. And I did not see any persons, and I did not see any blood. And obviously, I don't think they called Grupo Alpha or Beta, which is the federales, at all. But I went south, and I was pretty convinced that nobody was injured. And then I watched the set teams for the first time and realized what they were. I have investigative skills and learned about how to do correct investigations, let the evidence lead you, not come to your own conclusions, prior to joining the Border Patrol. And so I watched this and I knew exactly what it was. They took rocks and threw it into the windshield of the truck to make it look like he was injured and all this other stuff. Then I responded to another one north of the checkpoint on the side of a cliff with a road, and they shot the man in the chest. I don't know if he ever lived. Um, and that one, they wouldn't even let us who were, my partner was an EMT, they wouldn't even let us go help the man. They
Mhm.
wanted us out of there. They pushed us out of there. I know Border Patrol agents with 20 years in who maybe went more the administrative route and didn't work the field that much
Mhm.
and were never involved in these kinds of incidents. And they've never heard of them. So it's a need to know basis even within the Border Patrol.
So that's the other part there. So it's possible for other Border Patrol agents not even to realize that this team exists.
That is possible. And then the other thing, though, is when they sit there and say that these teams are disbanded and no longer there, what you have to understand is these teams have, over the last 30 years, brought in regular agents to detail with them for 6 months to 2 years. So there are agents in the field that know how to behave and do what the SITs want them to do. So they already know how to do it. I know here the Smuggling Interdiction Group acts as a CIT. Also now in the Border Patrol, since I came out about the teams and technically got them removed from Border Patrol, they've started a management investigative team, and they've started different ones. So it's still going on. Plus, the teams they didn't fire anybody, they didn't hold anybody accountable. They just had them take off their Border Patrol Critical Incident Team shirts and they put on CBP OPR shirts. It's the same fucking people. It's the same
Right.
idea. They're taught what is the outcome we need to show that our agent was the victim in this? That is the only evidence we're going to look at.
And
That's how they do it.
my takeaway, correct me if I'm wrong, after watching the HBO documentary, was that these SIT teams, critical incident teams, as you called them, more or less, like you said, we wanted they are there when they come in with local law enforcement, they take over the investigation, correct?
Correct. There's a recent one, a woman at the end of the film, Marisol Alcantara Garcia. I think Alcantara. She, Marisol was shot in Nogales back in, I didn't want to say 2021, something like that, when I was first researching the teams and working on this Anastasio case. And Nogales PD had told a local reporter that they were only allowed to perform perimeter functions. And I said, oh, that's not good. And I said, ask Nogales PD for their reports on the event.
Right.
And they said, well, we didn't do any reports. And I said, oh, they're lying. Everyone's going to do a report when they're on an event like that.
Mm-hmm.
She survived, by the way. She has shrapnel still in her head, and they're still fighting her. Her case is going to trial in March in Tucson sector, in Tucson
So
area.
it's basically to protect themselves.
It's
And
to protect themselves, and so they make the Nogales PD. Ever since I came out about the teams, and now people know. Now they're like what you saw with Good, where they're like, we don't want anybody to touch this. It's going to
Mhm.
be a federal investigation. And somebody said, well, the FBI is going to investigate. They'll be independent. And I'm like, God damn it, the FBI investigates every single fucking time down here. And what you don't understand is the sets are the ones. The way you control an investigation that the Border Patrol learned in the 80s was the first people on the scene are the ones who decide what the evidence is. That's it. And most of these cases, even when there was one Border Patrol agent charged with a killing, he shot 15-year-old boy as he stood in Mexico, was not even an immigrant, just a Mexican citizen who lived in Nogales. He was tried twice and he was acquitted. The reason why he was acquitted was because the jurors said that the critical incident teams did not collect all the evidence correctly and poorly, and therefore they couldn't do anything about it. That's done on purpose. It's
Yes.
done on purpose.
Well, when I was watching every single thing, and I'm like literally watching it play. So I'm glad you described it to people, because as I am watching everything roll out with Renee Nicole Good, it's repeating. Like everything that I saw that happened. The difference is, I mean, the only difference is everything single thing that they say is being negated by what we can see by our own eyes in many videos, close-up videos from many different angles. There
Mhm.
aren't any necessarily from across the street over, but still, we have enough that we can see where that man was standing. Oh, also, I have another question, because I know people that were in the FBI and also law enforcement that I have spoken with, who verified for me that the training when you are in front of a vehicle, or when you are dealing with a vehicle. Let me ask you a question. Are you ever supposed to walk in front of a vehicle that is moving?
No. And you're supposed to
Just
also be
asking.
very careful walking behind the vehicles.
Mhm. So,
That's why.
yeah, are you so if you, let's just and then also, um so apparently, I don't know if you heard this yet. I'm sure you did, but the individual who shot her had previously over the summer been dragged by a vehicle. Oh yeah, you did hear it because you brought it up. Okay, so that being said, if somebody has PTSD for their past experience that had happened, is there some sort of psychological exam that should be done on this individual, or do they just, like, put a Band-Aid on him and just, "Right back out there, buddy." That's kinda what they do?
Yeah, it's pretty much what they do. It's up to the officer. He might have gotten some counseling or something like that. But you can't go on any psychological medication. You can't go into any kind of counseling for too long because if you do, then they'll put you on the rubber gun squad. They'll take your gun away. So,
God, yeah.
what I saw from him is the way he squares off with a car. It's
Mhm.
like he's doing a stand your ground kind of thing. And one thing that I do want to say is these agents, specifically these ICE agents, are being told that anybody who doesn't support them is a terrorist. They're being told
Right,
that by the President of the United States. He's
right.
issued an executive order about that. If you have any pro-immigrant, pro-migrant thoughts and feelings, then you're a terrorist. He's also labeled, if you have, in their words, extreme views on gender, then you're a terrorist. So the question is, did they shoot her because they thought she was a lesbian because she was in the car with another woman or whatever? Did he think she was a terrorist because she somehow found herself in the middle of an ICE thing, an ICE operation? Um, this is nonsense that they believe this stuff. Um, but they are being told this, and that's the whole framework of how these agents are operating and being told to go out. They think that the Democrats are trying to bring migrants in so that they can get more votes, and these agents are being told that they are heroes. They are defending this nation. They are defending our culture, and they are bringing America back. And they view people like Miss Good as part of the problem.
Well, yeah, but they're also adults.
Yep.
And
No,
and
I'm not excusing
yeah,
it, I'm just saying the rhetoric that they're putting out, because they
right.
claim that the rhetoric that we're putting out saying that ICE is dangerous and their agents are out of control is what's getting them assaults. Well, let's look at the increase of assaults and shootings that have happened in Chicago and now in this city, in Minneapolis and stuff. I bet you those have increased too, but they don't ever tell you those stats, do they?
Right. Well, I saw the mayor, in a press conference this morning indicate that their violence has gone up since they've been in town. He has he said that. He said, he said exactly what you just said. Now, what about the training? So, I was talking to a friend who was a former detective, for Raleigh, PD, and he talked about the extensive training that they had to go through to become a police officer. By the time they could ever walk a beat by themselves, it was a year before they could ever, because there was so many different trainings that they had gone through. The academy and then trainings in their individual department that they had to go through. They were never by themselves. How much training? Because I have tried to dig in online, and the only thing I have found was from years prior where it said it was like a 4-month training. Is that correct?
For ICE agents, it's about a 4 month training. When I was an agent, but that was in the 90s, it was a 4 month training. When they get into these rushes like they're in right now, they strip it down. They have dropped ICE training, I believe, down to, they've cut it at
So
least
now
in
we're
half, if not
talking
more.
so now we're talking about anyone because based on the standards that I've seen that they have said what is required now, today, what they're because they're not getting the numbers that they had hoped for. Their standards have dropped. Would you agree with that? That you've seen what their standards are? It doesn't like in terms of, I mean, you just have to be breathing pretty much it
Yeah,
right now in order to be an ICE agent.
they're not
Um,
even doing complete background checks on these
they're not.
people.
Did you hear that? They're not even doing complete background checks. So they're not
Yeah,
doing.
but we don't know how long this ICE agent has had in. We don't know
No, 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 no.
what his training was. But their training is what you're seeing. Their training is you don't have, I mean, in the Border Patrol, like down on the line, one of the things we use all the time is try to hit me with a car, even though they didn't when you get involved in a shooting, or when you're out on foot because we're out in the middle of nowhere most of the time. You just say they tried to throw a rock at me. So, like every other shooting is tried to throw a rock at me, tried to throw a rock at me. It's not to say that doesn't happen and you don't get hit and it can't be dangerous, but the majority of the time, the agents have absolutely uh, not been hit by rocks, and they did not need to shoot. They could have walked away. And what they teach you in the Border Patrol is you do not have to walk away. You can stand your ground.
Which is what someone who got dragged by a car is now walking in front of the car,
Yeah.
trying to face off, and then wasn't in front of
And
the
he
car.
went around the back of the car, I think,
I
and
know.
then got into the front and put himself in the front. And this is what they're talking about with that perf report from 2013. So, like, the reason why the perf report happened, and I'll tell you what the perf report is in a minute. In 2012, down here in San Diego, once again, current CBP Commissioner Rodney Scott was the chief down here. And just like the Anastasio case, he covered up the killing of Valeria Tachkeen in 2012, who was a United States citizen and a mother. She was at an apartment, and Border Patrol agents showed up in plain clothes, did not identify themselves, and they were looking for a man, which she was not that man. And she, as a Latina in Chula Vista, was like, I don't want any part of this. So she goes to leave and get in her car. And as she's leaving to get in her car, Border Patrol agent Justin Tackett follows her. Justin Tackett was let go from the Imperial County Sheriff's for the exact same thing that he did on this day. But the Border Patrol, of course, hired him. And so he follows her. He tells his partner, Alexander Ruzin, to stand behind the vehicle. She's in a parallel park position. She backs up a little bit so that she can make room in front of her to leave. And Justin Tackett puts himself right in front of the vehicle. And as she starts to slowly pull forward, she taps his shin. And he says, You just assaulted a federal officer with a car. And he tells Agent Rosen to walk up and bust out her window. And he does that. And they do that a lot in the Border Patrol to create fear and confusion. She does that when she's covered in glass and he's attacking her. She
Mm.
hits the gas because she, remember, doesn't know who these people are.
Mhm.
And she hits the gas. Some people say that Agent Tackett jumped on the hood. He claims he was thrown onto the hood and that she tried to get him off, and he's hanging on with two hands to the edge of the hood right against the window. And you can see he actually did hit the front window. You can see the body imprint. And he turns around, pulls his gun with both hands, and starts shooting and empties his whole gun into her body as he's sliding forward off of the hood and ends up in a standing position and continues shooting.
Wow.
She, of course, died,
Mm.
and nothing happened to Agent Tackett because Rodney Scott, the current CBP commissioner, at the time, the critical incident teams were off on another incident. And so he had my old unit, the sector intelligence team, come down. We have witness testimony on video and stuff that they took the witnesses and put them in their cars. One guy says he was standing shooting. She was not hurting him and all this other stuff. Then Rodney Scott they run background checks. She had a prior arrest for meth, and they start leaking all this other stuff out. Rodney Scott goes down to the scene. Her body is seen in the background laying there, and he's like, she weaponized her car against our agent and he feared for his life. So that's the first thing they do is control the narrative. So that's what I was watching when Miss Good was killed. I was watching them do step one, control the narrative. And
Yep.
they even got the Secretary of Homeland Security to put their lies out, to put their fucking lies out. And the Vice President of the United States and the President of the United States. So after that case, they had the PERF report, which is a professional law enforcement evaluation thing with all old people and old law enforcement officers, experts. And they said specifically in there, You really need to tell your agents to stop standing in front of cars. They are needlessly putting themselves in a position where they're going to have to shoot. This has been known policy in the Border Patrol since 2013, and yet they keep doing it. But the idea that it is wrong and not good and tends to cause shootings if you put yourself in front of a vehicle is a 40-year-old policy. They've been teaching this for over 40 years in law enforcement agencies.
My understanding from the FBI person that I knew is that also you're not supposed to shoot at a car unless they're
Now,
shooting at you,
yeah,
correct?
and
Is that
well,
right?
because what you saw is
What happened?
once yeah, because their foot can get stuck on the accelerator. Because let's be honest, him shooting at her did not stop her
Right.
from continuing, did it?
No,
No, it didn't.
that's
It
right.
could have gone down the road and killed somebody else. She could have actually, as he shot her and killed her, she could have let go of the steering wheel and hit the gas and then still run him over.
Mhm. Well, no, because he was actually on the side of the
Well, eventually, yeah, he ends up on the side,
he
but
ends up
yeah,
on the side, which is how he actually put the gun inside of her window for the
yeah,
second shot and
yeah.
3rd, I believe.
Wanted to
So,
make sure that that lady was dead so she couldn't say anything to him.
unbelievable. So,
It just really hit me hard, and I kept thinking about my wife's out of town right now, and I just was like, these 2 women just dropped their kid off at school.
I know.
And then you hear the she's like, "We're new to Minneapolis. We don't know anybody here." What the fuck? I just dropped my kid off at school.
I it is so incredibly heartbreaking to see her wife sitting on the side of the road with their dog. Just not I mean, who would know what to even do at that point that you just saw your partner, your wife executed right in front of your very eyes for trying to turn around the car. I mean, where I don't know the whole situation, but from every report that I'm seeing, first of all, I hate that it even comes down to this because a person is allowed to protest. That is our First Amendment right. But based on what I'm even hearing is that was not who she was. She wasn't involved in any sort of, you know, group or I am. That doesn't make me a terrorist. Should someone, I grew up, I was a stay at home mom for a long time, worked with kids, worked in domestic violence shelters. Does that make me a terrorist because I am calling these people out? No, I think what's happening right now is there is a war against women. In the midst of all of this, women are sitting. There are so many things going on right now where they are trying to take away women's rights in so many various ways. And now I was in working in a shelter in Vegas when OJ Simpson killed Nicole Simpson, and the phone just stopped ringing because that message is,
Yeah.
if you can if you can kill her and get away with it, then I'm not calling. I'm not gonna try to get away. And this is a pretty strong message right now, isn't it? They're trying to tell us, "Don't bother, because 'cause we'll shoot you cold,
It's
and we'll
like
get
that
away with it."
shooting in, Chicago, I can't remember her name, Latina woman who was warning people about ICE, and they shot her, like, 5 times, and the agent brags on text, "5 bullets, 7 holes." Write that in your book, dude.
Oh my god.
And I saw a report stating that the majority of the victims of their shootings have been women. And
Really? Well,
in this
okay.
mass deportation, yeah, that they're targeting violence heavily against women. Well, it's because 'cause they're cowards and thugs, you know? And it's but this woman I was watching that when it happened, and I said, "First of all, they're gonna try and control the narrative. They're gonna say she was the aggressor," which they did. They're going to say the agents was a victim, which they did. Then when they realized she had a gun in her purse, they're like, "Oh, she was armed with a semi-automatic weapon." And I'm like, "Well, wait, did she have it out of her purse?" And then we find out she didn't even have it out of her purse. She didn't even she wasn't even the one ramming. A video showed that they rammed her. And all this is consistent with everything I was taught in the Border Patrol. They are always the aggressors, we were always the victims protecting ourselves, and that's why we have to kill them. And and I'm watching all this and I said, "Okay, next they're gonna have to doctor the evidence." And the next thing we hear in reports is he's driven his car all the way to Maine that he used to ram her and is having it buffed out. I'm like, you know?
Well,
And so and it's interesting because I've been talking about this so long, and it's so evident, and it just kills me to watch the news media on TV pretend like they don't know any of this. They know all of this. They know who I am.
well,
They know who John Carlos Frey is, and he's a well-known famous journalist, and they're not even having him on to talk about any of this.
well, they should be. Everybody should be. I don't understand why I don't understand why you aren't on every single platform right now and people aren't having conversations with you because that's what exactly what needs to happen, and the entire nation needs to hear about exactly what you know because that is critical information. Most of us I've never heard of CIT until the HBO documentary. And then when
Yeah.
I saw and then you know what? It didn't take much to put 2 and 2 together when this happened literally, I don't know, less than 2 weeks after that HBO documentary came out, we have this case with Renee Nicole Good, and I watched everything play out. Also, so at a crime scene, which this is a crime scene, someone got shot, correct? And
Yeah.
there's an investigation that needs to take place. Why did they start I mean, isn't it just, basic knowledge that if something happens, you leave everything where it is, right? You
Well,
don't
not in the Border Patrol and not in the immigration agencies,
but
no.
isn't
And
that the
that
way
like, the guy who shot her walked up and realized she was dead and then walked away and said, "Call 911," because she was dead. And then you see the other agents casually walk up. Once they realize people are coming close to them, then they get aggressive. They won't let a doctor come and give
that's
any,
the other part. Why and
you know
why would they not let the doctor who's saying, I just can't get can I just check and see if there's a pulse?" No. We have people coming. We have our own medics.
Yeah, and God only knows. I mean, I don't know when exactly she was dead. It doesn't matter. You can argue that back and forth and nitpick the shit out of this if you want to. But then they apparently pull her body out and drag it onto the sidewalk. I'm like, but and the thing is it's the law. The police with the jurisdiction down there, whether that's a county or city, they have the right to investigate. The state has the legal right to investigate use of force if it happens within their area of control. It's within their jurisdiction. So the Fed saying that they're not going to cooperate is an obstruction of justice, flat out. And it's my understanding that the MPD has the car, has the bullets, has the body. The only thing the FBI has is the agent and the gun.
Hmm.
So how is the FBI gonna do an investigation with all that other stuff? I assume maybe they'll turn it over to them, but I hope that they do their own analysis before they turn it over to them, because whatever comes out of the federal government's mouth is gonna be bullshit. Flat out bullshit.
How the president, Noam, and JD Vance could possibly this is the part that they didn't just assassinate this woman point blank execution style. They then assassinated her character after her death. And that is the part that is it just adds insult to injury
They
because
couldn't find anything else on her, because I guarantee you if she had a drug arrest in the past, they'd be like, "Oh, this bitch was a drug."
exactly, like they
Yeah,
did with Rodney or, is it
Anastasio.
yeah, well, also the why can't I think of his name? For Black Lives Matter, the gentleman that they knelt on his neck. Why can I not think of his name?
Ford.
But
Is it Ford? Gray.
no, I cannot
I
why
know. I'm so angry right now. I can't even.
I know,
Uh,
I'm so George
in Minneapolis.
George
Somebody
Floyd
put it down there in the
George
link.
Floyd
Minneapolis.
George
George
Floyd.
Floyd. Thank you.
And
Duh.
this happened within blocks, I guess, away from where George Floyd was actually murdered.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what they did. I mean, I know this wasn't ICE, but it's the same pattern, right? They assassinated his character. They said
Hmm.
he was, but they couldn't, like you said, they couldn't even find anything on her because she was peaceful. She was a peaceful, loving, mostly stay-at-home mother with 3 children. She was a poet. Those are all the things that I read about her. So, they couldn't find anything at all to say other than she was trying to ram him, which we all see the vehicle, and she was not. And my understanding is from where he's standing, from your training, he's supposed to be looking at, he might not have seen the tires, but he should be looking at her hands and where the car is turning, right?
Yeah.
So
And the other reason why it's a bad shoot, just from a law enforcement standpoint, all the stuff we've talked about aside, his partner is standing right next to her. And you see as soon as he fires the first shot, the partner who's standing there whips his hand away, almost like maybe he got uh, a piece of metal or something. Like he was like, "Shit!" And you see him try and get away from the vehicle. But I see this constantly in all the stuff I look at, and they will not give in to this. They will stick with this, and they will fight tooth and nail to say that this guy was justified in killing her because they just will not ever admit that they're wrong. They won't do it.
did you also see in Portland how there were 2 additional shootings that occurred? But I don't know any of the details around that. Do you?
No,
Have
I
it?
don't know, and everything's very preliminary right now, and I've just set it aside, and I'm gonna wait. I do know that where the shooting was reported from was blocks away from where the bodies were found, and I believe originally they stated that they had 1 person shot, and then they get there and they find there's 2 people. So there's already discrepancies and problems and stuff.
So
It's every time something like this happens and they immediately come out and go, "We were trying to arrest a criminal alien and this person tried to stop us and blah blah blah." I tell everybody, "Wait, wait." you know,
yeah.
let
And the
them hang
name
themselves. Let them hang themselves.
someone asked, again, yeah, the name of it is, Critical Incident, and it's on
Yeah.
HBO Max.
Yeah,
Um,
let me look up. I think it might be something of a cover up. Let me see what it says on the.
it's well worth it to because we're gonna see it over and over again unless we start making a lot of noise, and so if
Death at the border. Critical incident death at the border.
Critical Incident, Death at the Border. So, remember that. Critical Incident, Death at the Border, it's on HBO Max, and, let's make sure that we make a lot of noise about this because what it's going to take for the Dems to start uplifting this information and talking to people like Jen and sharing the information that she knows, it's gonna take us. It has
They
to
should
be
have demanded hearings already. They should have come back after this movie was out, after the holidays, this first week of January. They should have been like, boom, boom, boom. I know that they're not in charge. I understand that they don't have the majority right now. They can still hold hearings. They can still talk about this and inform the voters. And they're just not talking about it.
they
I've
should be
seen
talking about it. They should be
I've
screaming at it about it from the roofs. We
you
all
know
should.
the crooked media guys, they're all former Obama guys and this and stuff. They're now talking about the good killing, and they're like they're all knowledgeable about this stuff. But let me tell you, the crooked media guys, they had the chance to talk about the critical incident team years ago, and they didn't give a shit. because they felt it just affected migrants. They did not care. They kept saying, this is going to come to your town. This is going to come to your town. And I've been talking privately with people, and they're like, well, when do you think it's really going to hit the fan? And I'm like, January. January. That's when we're going to really see it. This is going to
Really?
get worse. Yeah.
Why did you think that? I'm
Because
just
that's when they get their money, and that's when the majority of the first people in training and stuff are starting to get out and get into the field. The other problem is that when you push people through these academies so fast, I mean, the last time they did this was after 9/11. And so in the Border Patrol, after 9/11, when we pushed people through with only 60 days of training, actually less, like 52 days of training, um, we ended up with a Border Patrol serial killer, Juan David Ortiz. We ended up with all sorts of serial rapists and pedophiles. The Border Patrol ended up hiring people with cartel ties because that was so the cartel knew that they were pushing people through, so they put a bunch of their people through.
also, in the, documentary, I believe, or either that or I heard it on an interview, Jen had shared with me what the, code like, the honor code or the saying,
Oh,
can
honor
you
first
share
is their
that with
motto.
say
Yeah.
say it again, what is it?
Well, honor first, HONOR,
But
is the
tell
motto of the
everyone
Border
what they
Patrol.
say
But the
instead.
men do not say honor first, they say on her first.
Yeah, that's the quality of individuals we're dealing with, people.
Yeah. Yeah. They sexually assault the female agents. That's part of our hazing to get into the Border Patrol. No, not every single female agent nowadays, but it used to be every single one of us. Um, and they've known about that. They've been raping female agents in the academy since the very first Latina entered in 1975. And then 20 years later it happened to me. This is who these people are. And they are all in with Donald Trump. They don't give a shit about the law. They're going around selling t-shirts with the oath that you take when you become a Border Patrol agent, ICE agent, or CBP agent, where you promise to defend the nation against foreign and domestic enemies. And then in parentheses at the bottom, they've added, well, some,
Wow.
not
Okay.
all of the domestic. That's okay if your dogs are barking. We're
Sorry,
lucky.
guys, I have dogs.
Mine are
They're trying to
asleep.
they're trying to protect me from the mailman.
Yeah.
Um, um,
So it's always been this and it's not to say that there aren't good people that go in those agencies. I would like to think I was a good person. I know a lot of good people that went into the agency, but at some point you everybody knows after about 2 or 3 years you kind of understand, oh shit, this place is really corrupt. And if you're going to stay there, then you have to look the other way. And that goes for CBP and ICE as well. They all have cover up teams. Like I said, the Border Patrols has been moved to CBP, but they still run their own cover up teams and stuff. I mean, I watched a guy, the president of El Centro's Border Patrol Union. I have him on my laptop, video of him pulling his gun out, putting it in his mouth, his service weapon, and saying, I'm going to myself, and then pulling his gun and pointing it at his girlfriend, saying, and I'm going to you too. They allowed him to, for 2 years, drag it through the courts and made him do some domestic violence training classes, made him
which I'm
do
going
some,
to tell you are not it's not
yeah,
very effective.
Alcoholics Anonymous training, and then by the end of it, the judge didn't even wanna fine him $100 because he knew he was hurting for money. So he dropped all of these felonies, violent felonies that would have taken his gun and ended his career, down to vandalism. Mike Matsky Mike Matsky got away with that. I mean, this is what happens down here forever, and I think the thing that gets me too, Lisa, is it's like And it's unfortunate, but it's like nobody cared until they saw it happen to a white woman. And I guess that's what it takes in this country. But
Absolutely. You know what? It's unfortunate, but it's true because
yeah,
that's the hierarchy of the society that we live in. And so for any Latinos out there, I'm half Hispanic. My last name is Gonzalez. So I just have to tell you, for anybody that thinks for an instant that you're in the club, you ain't in the club. Because if you're not in the club, uh, none of you are in the club. So please stop with anybody. I'm so over anybody that continues to support this regime, particularly if they are Hispanic.
yeah,
I
definitely.
don't understand it. It is insane. It is absolutely insane to me. You're not in the club. And clearly, white women aren't in the club either.
No,
So
you're only in the club if you support the patriarchy and support the violence. That's
that is
that's
correct.
that's our job, is to keep our mouth shut and to
Right.
stand behind them and say, okay.
But that's why we're here right now because we are not going to do that. And I would encourage I think women personally can help save us.
I would love somebody to put down, should talk to Frank Fagluzzi. I would love to talk to these people, but they do not want to talk to me.
Who is
They
that?
do,
I
they
do not know who
he's
that is.
a former FBI agent who was on MSNBC. I used to be on MSNBC all
Okay.
the time too. None of these people want to talk about this. It's like the rape culture. They don't want to talk about it. They're just like, I don't know if it's their like, oh, she's a disgruntled employee. She's angry about her rape. She's just trying to get vengeance. All this shit is true. For whatever reason of why I do this, whatever you think my reason is for doing this, everything I put out is true though. So it doesn't fucking matter what my reason is. And
They're
I've
ter
said what my
Hang
reason
on.
is in my book. You can read my book,
Yes,
if
read
you
her
wanna
book
know.
Against the Wall, Against the Wall. Um,
Yeah,
but
and go ahead.
they're terror. Here's the thing. I just want to mention this again. Their strategy is always the same: deny, attack, reverse victim, the Darvo tactic. That is
Yep,
exactly what they do. And, like they're terrorists. And then it's projection. They're calling other people terrorists. They are the terrorists. The
they are the
definition
terrorists.
of terrorist is when fear and violence are used to force compliance and silence. That is the definition of a terrorist. So we're dealing with terrorists. And you know what they say about negotiating with terrorists?
I'm looking up the FBI definition of a domestic terrorist because I've been saying this for a while. I
Do
think
you
I
have it in
wrote it.
front of you?
Yeah. Um, Terrorist acts that are carried out within the US by US citizens or US permanent resident. No, that's not it. Come here. Open up.
Well, while you're finding it, I would just like to say that based on my understanding of what terrorist means, right?
Oh,
Oh,
here
go
it
ahead.
is. Um, it's defined under reference for 18 USC 2331, number 5, involving acts dangerous to human life that are a violation of the criminal laws of the United States or of any state, appearing to be intended to intimidate or coerce a civilian population, which is what
Oh,
ICE is doing,
right.
influence the policy of government by intimidation or coercion, or
Oh,
affect the conduct of a government by mass destruction, assassination, or kidnapping,
okay.
and occurring primarily within the territorial jurisdiction of the United States.
Well, I pretty much think based on that definition that ICE are actually the terrorists in this country, as is our existing government based on that definition, because what you just read to me, they have been kidnapping people, and you can
Yep.
say, "Oh, but they're immigrants." Okay, fine. Not fine, but I'm okay. What about all the American citizens that they grabbed and have detained? Because apparently doesn't matter if I now walk around with my passport and birth certificate in my little wallet wherever I go. And I realize, even me, look at me with the blonde hair and lighter skin, I carry that with me. And I realize that even if I have it and I show it, they still apparently have the right to detain me and
Yep.
take me somewhere for God knows how long until they just decide to release me. So it doesn't matter. So they do kidnap American citizens. And they just murdered one point blank right in front of our face. Not to mention the over 30 um, individuals. There's been, the last time I looked, I think it was 34, 35 people have died in ICE custody.
I'm concerned too that
And
I
children,
know children are being sexually assaulted. They have more children in ICE custody than ever before. And I know for a fact that they are being sexually assaulted. I know that a lot of the
oh, that's making me so
people
sad.
provide medical care for these kids and stuff. A lot of pedophiles get in there, and then when they get allegations against them, then they just move to another place, move to another place. These are all contracted employees.
And they're
No, not
also,
everybody that's contracted to work there is a pedophile. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that when it does happen, that they ignore this.
but
Now,
aren't they also keeping them? So my understanding is the law is for detaining children that they're only supposed to keep them for up to 20 days. But based on the reports that I was seeing, there was, I cannot recall if it was Politico that did a really great article, an investigation on what was going on. They're holding kids for up to 6 months now in
yeah, they
detention.
don't care. They just do whatever they want because nobody's going to hold them accountable. That's the problem down here.
Yeah.
Nobody, and now everywhere. So what? And people are like, "Are you surprised at what you're seeing?" I'm like, "No, this is just the border coming to you. All of this I've
Well,
been
it's like
warning
a
you about and telling
border
you
coming
about.
to you.
You're in deep trouble, America." And everyone's like, "No, but I'm white. It's not going to happen to me." Uh,
Yeah, and if you don't get it now, I don't know when anybody's ever going to get it, honestly.
yeah. And I mean, maybe you are a white woman and you think that you don't have a problem. Maybe one of these nights you're going to be in a bar in Minneapolis and a guy's going to come up to you and he's going to ask you out and say, "Let's go to the parking lot and you give me whatever and this and that." And you say no. And he happens to be a Border Patrol agent, kind of like the women who tried to go in the restroom in Long Beach, California during those first raids. And Isaiah Hodgkin, Border Patrol agent Isaiah Hodgkin, got mad and he was in there drunk for some reason in the women's bathroom and pulled his gun on everybody.
Mm,
I mean, that's all it takes is you just to offend these men. That is all it takes. Um, it's and then the concentration camps that they're building and stuff like this.
which are all based on money. I mean, at the end of the day, when we think about it, and I had written an article about this myself about, so when you look at the cost of what they're willing to spend day, per day, on someone to be in detention, and you compare it to what was working, because people that were that were trying to become citizens and were doing all the things that they were supposed to do and were taking all the right steps, they proved that it was effective because they weren't running away. They were coming to all of their appointments, and it was relatively cheap compared to what they're spending now. This is like totally an extractive. I mean, they have turned human beings into, commerce.
If they were to, yeah, exactly, that's what we're going to make money off of. It's our
That's what they're
new,
doing. Because the last time I
Mhm.
looked, I wanna say it was $190 per day, and I believe that's for adults. Children can be, you can charge more for, children because they require allegedly more care that they're not really giving them. So when you think about in the course of 1 month, what they are willing to spend in 1 month to keep a child, right, locked up. Let's do that math here.
Well, and now they're gonna have education. They're trying to build
Oh,
schools
sure.
inside their camps.
So they're gonna spend $5,700. That's based on the 190 per diem, which, by the way, that was it listed under DHS. So they're willing to spend $5,700 on a child to be in detention for 1 month, for 30 days. But SNAP, I think it's like SNAP to feed a child. Now, to cage a child, $5,700 for a month. For SNAP benefits, I think it's like $200 per person, 230 or something like that. I have it in.
Yeah, and they're taking them out of their homes.
Correct.
They're already with families. They're taking them out of their homes and then telling Americans, "Oh, well, we saved them." You know how they keep saying they have this ridiculous number. They keep saying Biden let 300,000 children go into sex trafficking. Stephen Miller said they're probably being sex trafficked or they're dead now. And then every time that they find a child, they're like, "Look, we saved a child." And it's like, "But you're not giving any proof of anything. You're just assuming shit." And it just and there's just no pushback on it. No pushback whatsoever. Um it just it just kills me. This is just like,
It kills me too. That's why we have to fight back. That's why we have to keep uplifting this information. I am not gonna stay silent about this. I'm gonna scream it from the rooftops. We all need to keep screaming it from the rooftops until someone starts paying attention, until we start seeing Jen on all of the platforms, on MSNBC, until AOC and Senator
I don't
Padilla.
even want to do it. I want John Carlos Free to do it. I don't
Okay,
even want to
fine.
do it. I'm not that friendly.
I want whoever needs to do it, but the reality of the situation is that everybody needs to know about it. Everybody needs to hear about it. And Senator Padilla, it's really interesting that you say that to me because wasn't it Senator Padilla that they tackled? That Gnome
Yeah.
had her thugs tackle? And he's a senator? And he's not
Yeah.
interested in, remember then when that happened? Because he was going to
He's in the damn film and he hasn't made a single comment about it. I mean, weakly and ineffectively he's in the film, but they haven't made a single damn comment about it. He won't even talk about it. Like, "No, I wasn't in that film." What do you like he was in a porno or something. You
I
know?
don't understand
"That
it.
wasn't me. What are you talking huh? What?"
Wow. That's
It's
unbelievable.
pathetic. It's just fucking pathetic. These Democrats are so fucking weak. They're so afraid to say that what these agencies have been spewing about migrants is not fucking true. All the stink that they made about one death from one US citizen and Laken Riley, I'm sorry that she was killed and she should not have been killed, but they use that to justify what they're doing now. Well, you just killed another white lady. Why does she not matter? Oh, because she's a lesbian? Ugh.
It is well, and I would just like to say regarding Lake and Riley, and I'll say this as a mother, I am sickened to hear about what happened to their daughter. That never should have happened. I am deeply sorry that that happened. As a mom, though, that is not justification. If someone took the life of my child, torturing millions of people and terrorizing everyone in the United States is not a justification, and it's not gonna bring my child back. Not to mention the fact that my understanding was that Laken Riley was a nurse. I have many nursing friends. My mother was a nurse. Nurses are healers. Nurses are not, they take a Hippocratic oath to do no harm. So, for what it's worth, a young lady who is training to do no harm is having an awful lot of harm being done in her name.
Yeah.
I would not ever be able to live with that as a
I
mother.
don't know if these Democrats feel like they just need to keep their mouth shut and maybe they won't be picked up, but it's like he's made it clear he's coming after y'all. So you're going to be in those camps too. You're going to be at the other end of an ICE agent's gun. You will.
Right.
It's going to happen. It's probably going to happen to me. But
Well,
at
it
what
might
I
happen to
don't
me
know
too.
how cute somebody has to be. I don't know how good the video has to be. I don't know. I mean, this country is just like, well, she shouldn't have been trying to. I was on Minnesota's public radio yesterday morning for 2 hours, and just a couple of men called up and said, "Well, why don't you just do what they say?" She was doing what they said. They were giving her conflicting orders. This happened to Raymond Mattia down here in Tucson, where Border Patrol agents were giving him conflicting orders. He does what they tell him to do, take his hands out of his pocket. He has a cell phone. You can clearly see it's a cell phone. He takes his hands out of his pocket, and as soon as he gets his hands like here, they just fill him full of lead.
Well, as a woman who I'm just going to say, I am not around guns regularly. They kind of freak me out. I'm not gonna lie about that. So as if I'm just an everyday mom, which I am, I mean, my children are older now, but I am, I know that gig. I've done the drop off and the pickup and, for many years. And I'm just dropping my kid off at school and I take a wrong turn or whatever it is I'm doing. And then I have 3 or 4 people coming at me with guns as I'm trying to figure out what am I like, and they're giving me also, they're not, first of all, they're not being a kind or approaching me in a way that is showing me that I can trust them, right? Because you all are supposed to be on de-escalation, which I know a lot about that actually. And based on what I witnessed, there was no de-escalation of that situation going on. It was aggression, aggression. Get out. I heard the guy screaming, get out of the fucking car while somebody else is telling her to do something else. Somebody
Telling
else
her to move.
telling her to
Did you
move.
see when she was first there?
Yeah.
Did you see that video where it shows before, as they're getting out of the car, she's waving her hand because she's
Yes,
like telling and she let an ICE agent go ahead of her. And then
that's
she
right.
tells them, go ahead. And she realizes, oh, they're getting out of the car. And then she realizes, oh, fuck, he's coming after me.
Right.
And after everything that we've seen on television and everything that we've seen on TikTok and all these other places, don't tell me that she doesn't have the right to fear for her life.
Exactly. And as a regular mom who just has done the drop off pickup, who's not around guns, who's not a police officer, who's not a border patrol agent, who's never been in law enforcement. I have to tell you that if I'm sitting in a car and I have 3 dudes pointing guns at my face, screaming at me, conflicting commands,
Yep.
I'm freaking out, right? I'm like, I'm just like, okay, well, I'll just pull over here because
I'll
I'm
get out of your way, dude.
I'll
I'm
just
out
move
of
out of
here.
I'm sorry. I've just gotta
And
yeah.
even if she did block you, is that a death penalty? And are you the judge?
Well, my
Are you
understanding,
allowed to just I mean, to decide, well, you didn't
you
obey
tell
my
me this.
order?
You're border patrol. So my understanding is, she's an American citizen. They're not traffic cops.
No,
ICE doesn't have jurisdiction
they do
to
not.
demand her to even get out of her car, do they?
Nope. No, they do not.
Okay, so let's American citizens know that, know your rights. Which brings me to I was on the Indivisible call last night and I want to make sure they put out a toolkit. There was there were 2 groups there were several groups, but they Indivisible is putting out a toolkit and they're having trainings. So make sure that you check those out because they're about your rights and what to do with border patrol and they're having a huge um, abolish ICE protests across the country this Saturday, and they're encouraging everyone to participate in their own communities wherever they're located. And they're asking everybody to be creative about it, meaning They don't all have to look the same. Some people are
Mhm.
going to be doing vigils. Some people are going to be doing marches. So, I mean, it just depends on what's going on in your own community. So I would absolutely encourage everybody to participate in something to you know, honor Renee Nicole Good. If you disagree with what's going, yeah, 5051 was participating with them. They're all coming together to participate in this. And right now, this isn't about branding. This is just about us coming together as American citizens and fighting back however we can on every front, on every platform, doing every single thing that we can. Because the last thing they want our silence. They are trying to command our silence, and we can't give it to them. Absolutely can't give it to them. And here's the thing, I'll stand in the front row. If somebody wants to take me out, the good news, I know there's hundreds of millions of other people standing behind me that don't want this either. And we have to make our voices be heard.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. I know we were supposed to talk privately this morning about stuff, and I was just
That's
like,
okay. No, I wanted to ask you, one of the reasons I wanted to chat with you is I'm like, I wanted to say, I'm just asking, like, why aren't you on every platform? I don't, I was,
I'm like, "Is it the tattoo? Am I too
I don't
chubby? Am I
know.
too ugly? What's the problem?
God.
Fine, I don't know," it's
So,
just like
what's crazy? I was watching The Left Hook, because I love Waj Ali, and
yeah.
he had mentioned your name. This was before this happened. I think this was like a week ago or something, and he was talking about ICE, and he's like, "Yeah," so he said something about, "Yeah, Jenn Budd, I'm gonna call her, I wanna have her on soon,"
He
and
did call me and he asked me to be on, but what he asked me to talk about, I didn't feel like I could lend a good voice to that, so I asked him to have another guest for what he wanted to talk about,
okay,
so,
gotcha. Well, I'm sure
yeah.
maybe he's gonna wanna talk to you now. Everybody
Yeah,
wants
maybe, I don't know.
to to you because that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you, but also to talk about, women. I really believe that women need to be out in front of this because I believe there really is this isn't, I mean, yes, they are going after all of us, but I truly believe that women are in the epicenter of all of it. When you consider all of the things that are happening right now, it's coming from every front. Barry Weiss creating some stupid debate show that and the question is, one of the questions they'll be debating is, "Did feminism fail women?" No, you asshole. Feminism did not fail women. You know who failed women? Or you know who it failed feminism? It failed powerful men, not women, because
Yeah.
and here's the thing, if it had done such a terrible job, why are they spending so much time trying to take away women's rights? Let's ask ourselves that question. If feminism failed women, why are they spending so much damn time trying to revoke every last right that we have, right down to our votes? They're trying to take away votes. They're trying to take away professional degrees and being able to allow women access to in all of the and what are the, professions that were chosen, for having a professional degree? All of
Nursing, wasn't it? Yeah,
nursing,
they're all women's
teaching,
yeah, teaching, yeah.
social work, okay? I know those all of the women
Caregiving.
caregiving, those are all predominantly led by females, right? And what's really interesting, Jen, think about this, because I teach about abuse prevention,
Mm.
all of those, fields are also mandated reporters.
Oh. Mandated reporting about child abuse and sexual
Correct.
abuse. We don't want that now, do
Nurses,
we? It's kinda like how the
teachers.
Trump administration pulled so much funding out of the sex trafficking, law enforcement groups that are supposed to
Yes.
be they supposedly care so much about, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Someone had said, as a woman Army vet, Melissa, the military has the same problems and the closets upon closets of skeletons with meat still on the bones. I really believe these mostly male humans are behaving in their true nature, and nobody wants to face the truth that this type of behavior cannot be separated from the species mix that with the amount of guns in this country. I do believe there are some good ones out there. So this isn't about, I mean, for me, but I do believe there are good ones out there. I raised a couple. I am married to one. I do know many. So this isn't about, but I do think that, this toxic masculinity
Mhm,
is really driving, this strong men mentality. What I think we
mhm.
need to build is stronger women,
We need to
period.
build stronger women, and we need to change the culture of our men. I mean, this argument that they always had, like, "Oh, this migrant did this," or this person did that, and so we're now gonna like the whole Somali thing, maybe there's some fraud going on in Minnesota, so now we're gonna ban all Somalis. There's one, Afghan man who shot and killed National Guard people, so now we're gonna ban all Afghanis from the country and stuff. Well,
Which
if we're
that
gonna
was
just go
tragic.
down that logic path, then why don't we just arrest all men because they're committing 95 to 98% of the rapes?
Well,
Why
I
don't
gotta
we
say,
do that?
not just rape, Jen, also gun violence. There is over 90% of violent crimes in America, including, I think it's like 95% of gun violence is
Mhm.
actually, um, done by males.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that
Uh,
is just that is the truth. And someone pointed out 51% of the population is actually female, which is another reason that I continue to say women can turn this around. We have the ability to say no more,
yeah.
and we
Yeah.
need to, because I've
And be
had
unapologetic about it. It's like I feel like the Democrats are it's like sitting at, Sunday dinner with your granddad, if you're in a white family, I should say this, sitting, and he's throwing out the N-word and everybody just kind of doesn't say anything so we can kind of get along. No, you need to say what this is. What we witnessed was
yes,
state sanctioned violence. What is being done to our women and girls in this country is state sanctioned violence. The fact that we do not require police departments to do rape kits, to analyze rape kits, the fact that you have to go through, I don't know, probably 1,000 rapes before you can get one person convicted, and God forbid he do any time. I mean, this is state sanctioned
it is.
violence.
And you don't
We are
reform that into
there.
yeah, you don't reform that into legitimacy, and you
Yeah,
don't fund that. You don't fund that into accountability, right? When armed agents operate without transparency or consequence, that is not law. That's terror. That's what terror looks like. And we don't negotiate with terrorists. I'm done.
yeah.
I've had it.
I'm done. I'm totally people are like, when they say the radical left, fine, I'm fucking radicalized. Let's do it.
Me
You
too.
I mean, I am so fucking done. And the other thing I'm so fucking done with is part of this, like with the film and everything. There's a whole lot of people involved in the film, especially the NGOs and the attorneys and all this other stuff. One of the reasons why the film came out so late is because it was supposed to be out before the 2024 election was because all these people are vying for when they think is the best time for that fucking film to be out. I can't tell you how many journalists I know who knew about these teams for years and did not say anything. I cannot tell you in the 10 years that I have been working publicly to expose these crimes in the Border Patrol and talk about my own time in the Border Patrol and my culpability. How many how many journalists have called me and said, "Well, right now we've got Border Patrol agents during the first Trump administration who were assigned to be asylum officers are requiring the women to show their breasts, but we're not going to put that out because that's just my editor just doesn't want to put it out right now. They are sitting on years and years and years of crimes from these agents, and they're like, "Well, we don't want to talk about it." We don't. And then the second time he won, they're like, "My editors are saying these are California papers and Arizona papers." My editors are saying nothing negative about immigration officers and only positive stuff about them, and nothing positive about migrants and only negative stuff about them. I mean, that's how bad it is, and that's why I just I don't cooperate with people. I write my own stuff because I'm not going to sit on information. I'm not going
Thank
to.
God, and I'm so grateful to you for that. I'm
Well,
so
and the
grate
only reason why that case got to the Inter-American Commission, the only reason why that film got made about the teams is because it took a former agent to come forward and say, "This is what they are.
Mhm,
This is how they work." It
mhm.
was all my work that went into it, and you can see it in the film that did that. And it's not to say that the others didn't do work. They did their part of work. The attorneys did their part. John Carlos Frey has been working on this for a long time. He didn't even I asked him flat out, "Did you know that these teams were did it occur to you that they might be cover-up teams?" He goes, "No, it didn't even occur to me." And
Well,
I'm
I
just
can
like,
understand how it might not, but
"Well, I can understand. It just makes me sad to all these years he's been covering these cases and he didn't know it. And when he did, he actually sat at my table and cried. He cried.
I'll bet. Well, when I hear from you that it's been 5 years since you've been trying to bring this forward and over 300 lives, over 300 lives have already been taken, and now we have 301 with Renee Good. So, 2 more people shot in Portland. I heard that they were still living. I hope that they are, and I pray that they're okay, but, we have to oh, it's Ice Out for Good, by the way. I That's the name of what, this weekend is, I think, going to be called.
Ice out for good.
Ice Out for Good, just so everybody knows. Make sure that you, check out all of their toolkits because people need to know. But here's the other part, like, about the Dems, like you had said, we need to know to send a very clear message, even if you have a Democratic, leader that is in your that you're a constituent of, you need to send a very strong message. If you condemn violence, but you keep funding ICE and keep approving billions and you keep looking away and you don't stand up to it, that's not opposition. That's not
Thank
what
you for saying that because there are Democrats out right now who are pushing new reform in immigration bills. They're Biden Democrats, they're Obama Democrats, and every single one of their proposals has more money for ICE,
no,
CBP, and Border Patrol.
we need to
They do not need more money.
no more money. No more, you
Yeah,
gotta put them off if
they
they
need
need
their
to.
funding cut, and they need to be back on the damn border, and we really need to purge these agencies, if not
Absolutely.
abolish them outright. They've
Right.
violated the Constitution.
I say
They have
abolish them.
violated the Constitution,
We
and
don't need
and
this
and they have
anymore.
stolen money from Americans. They created this fake invasion by closing the ports of entry. Every Border Patrol agent and every CBP agent knows how do you create an invasion? You close the ports of entry because if you close the ports of entry, they cannot legally apply and they will cross illegally every single time. It's a
Well, there you
fake
have it.
invasion that CBP just refused to process anybody. It's fake.
Well, we need to use our voices, so don't just think, "Oh, my at least my representative is." I hear it all the time because I live in Ohio, right? I am a blue dot in a sea of red here, friends, and they suck. They won't even answer the phone. There's only one rep that I ever talk to that I don't talk to him, but one, that answered the phone. And there are people that will say to me, "Well, thank God I have Democratic representation." Well, I'm glad for you that you have Democratic representation. I mean, that's better than what I have. However, you need to look into what they're voting. If they're not speaking out about this, if they are not just, if they're continuing to vote to fund this, that's complicity because
Yeah.
that's not what opposition looks like. So they
Well,
could. Democrat all day long, but if they're being the same side, the opposite side of the same rotten coin, that's not helping us.
I understand that we're limited in who we can vote for. Um, but like somebody called into the radio station yesterday and he said, we just need to calm down. Once we get another Democrat in there, this will change and we will go back and the people who were removed will find their way back to their family. And I'm like, what world are you living in, man? I said, I mean, I'm sorry. I know a lot of you out there think, well, if they're a Democrat, then they're easy on migrants and open borders and this and that. The border was never open during
No,
Biden's time. It is
I
more
know.
open now than it ever was. They're just lying to you. And it's open now because all the agents are in your city shooting people.
I
Um, I mean, it's like that's why it's open. They just have military down here, and the military doesn't know what they're doing. And honestly, yeah, the number of people crossing illegally has gone down because who the wants to come here now? I mean,
People
Jesus
don't
Christ.
even wanna come here on a vacation. They don't wanna come here at all. I we had an exchange student that had, I have taken in over the many years, like, probably 6 exchange students, right? One of them came and went to school in the United States, and then he just came back and finished his master's, right? He had an opportunity to work in the United he's from Spain. He had the opportunity to work in the United States and, because he had a work permit for a couple of years. He got the hell out, man. He was like once he finished his degree, he's like,
Mhm.
"Peace out, I'm out." He's like, "I'm on a one-way ticket back to Spain." And it's because of what's going on here. I mean, he was, he's here legally, he was here as a student, he was completing his degree, and he's like, when I'm driving in my car to go somewhere, he's like, "I'm like a grandma, I'm so afraid." Like, that's no way to live.
It's sad.
Yeah, so, anyway.
You know, the thing is, and I said when he got on there, I asked the host, I said, I would really like to address this. I know that the rhetoric is that Democrats are easy on migrants and they love immigrants. But the truth of the matter is that Bill Clinton is the one who brought us deterrence policies that intentionally send uh, uh, migrants seeking asylum, running for their lives, entire families to cross in the most dangerous places. That was brought to us by the Democrats. Obama built the cages for the children that Trump then used. I hate to tell you that, but that's the truth. In 2014, Obama ordered Border Patrol to use local child protective services to strip newborn babies from mothers, migrant mothers in the hospital. That was Obama, okay? And they have been just as brutal, but they don't brag about it. They make promises that they never keep, but they don't brag about it. That has been the only difference. Biden's policy for 3 years was Trump's policy of keeping the asylum system closed, which caused more deaths out here than any year since 1994.
I think ultimately, also, wouldn't you say that, I don't know, I've reflected a lot about our history, our nation's history, right? We've always been an extractive, violent,
Yeah,
um, from colonializing and all the things that happened to Native Americans.
yeah.
Um,
It all
um,
comes down to labor. And that's
yep,
what this is about. This is
mhm,
about making money and labor and controlling labor costs.
mhm.
That's what it's about.
And not actually during the reparations, after the Civil War. Honestly, never. I mean, everybody just wants to kick the can down the road and not and they'll deal with it later because we don't wanna really deal with it. We don't have to deal with that right now. And we are now all suffering from all the well, we won't deal with it now, including what you just mentioned, with, the border patrol, with the, laws that were put into place. Why didn't Biden fix the why didn't they spend any time fixing any of that?
Yeah.
They don't
They
do it.
they didn't hold anybody accountable for child separation. They
Mhm.
didn't do anything, and they didn't even pass a law stating you cannot do this. This is not no longer gonna happen in our country. If it's such a disgusting shame to the United States of America, why didn't Biden at least pass an executive order or something else stating so? And they won't. And I mean, kinda like, I hope you got this from my book, was like, the only thing that healed me, being that I was a violence worker, as Andrew Free likes to call it, was admitting it, was confronting it, was
Mm,
looking myself in the mirror and saying what I had participated in, what I had joined, the rhetoric that I used to espouse. And we just will not do that in this country, which means we are never going to get to the other side of this. Never. And it's not, people are like, oh, you're just a radical leftist and you believe in open borders. No, actually, I don't. But I know what comes across the border, but what they're selling you as security, what they're selling you as national security and to make you safe is bullshit. They are not making you any
right,
safer. You
right.
are not safer if you can't go down the street after you drop your kid off and you get caught in an ice thing, which I want to say they keep saying it was a targeted enforcement. They say that all the time, but they don't prove it.
Well, they don't
What
have
I saw
to
was
prove it.
not targeted. When it's targeted, you come out, you're going to one specific house, one specific business, they were just stopping in the street and walking down the street, harassing people. That was not targeted.
Right, right. Because I think some people had whistles out because they're advising people to now, one of the things we all have to remember too is that, um, cameras wherever you are. That
Yeah,
is critical. Elbows up, cameras out. Those 2 things are so important because if we didn't have that now imagine, at least with this tragedy, people had their cameras out and it's documented. Otherwise, they could say whatever they want. So they're saying one thing, but America is seeing with their own eyes something completely different. And at least um, we have that. We have to make sure that we can continue um, pulling our cameras out anytime that we witness anything.
yeah.
So it's heavy, but I still think that I still have hope because I think there are more people like just everyday citizens like us, people that don't want this and are going to demand change.
I don't even want this for the people that I used to wear the same uniform. I
I
don't
don't
want
know
them to
that.
endure this. I
No,
want them to be on the border. I want them to be getting the bad guys. I want the migrants who want to seek legal asylum to be able to seek legal asylum. I want to be able to check who's coming in our country. But once we check them, I want them to be able to exist,
right.
to be able to live healthy lives and stuff like that. And we're just criminalizing them. If this was really about getting criminal migrants out of here, dangerous people, then they wouldn't have 70 to 90% of their arrests being non-criminals. I mean, in Chicago, out of 2,000, they wound up with a percentage rate of less than 1.5% had criminal convictions.
Right.
This is
My
ridiculous. This is not going, this is not targeted. You are literally just dropping a big bucket down and grabbing everybody.
my
And
stepdaughter lives in Chicago, and she indicated I cannot recall the neighborhood, but she indicated that, they won't go in the neighborhoods where the violent criminals actually are, and, like, they all know where that is. I can't remember where it was, but she's like, "Oh, no, they won't go there because
yeah,
then they're gonna see some badasses come out.
yeah,
They're gonna have some real resistance that they don't want to deal with or encounter, so they're going after all of the innocent people who are here with papers. They're grabbing them and they're going to all their court appointments. They're grabbing them right off the steps of a courthouse, going in for their appointment. Uh, it's unbelievable the shit that's going on, and we have to
we,
continue to call them out for it. We just have
yeah.
to continue calling them out for it, and I will do every single thing I can to try to uplift you and make sure that your voice is heard. And I hope everybody else does as well. Someone had asked, "Can we make sure that we post this live?" I think you started it so we can post
Yeah,
this.
we'll post it. We'll post it.
Yeah. I mean, I want more and more people to bring Jen on and to talk to her about all of, her experience and her knowledge and her perspective, because once you see it and you hear it, you can't look away from it. You can't.
Francis asked what would fix it. So I don't think that we can just fire everybody right away. Number one, they need to be purged. We need actual accountability. These teams are hopeless. These agencies are hopelessly corrupt. We need to hold Rodney Scott accountable. He must be impeached. Senator Padilla should be calling for his impeachment right this very second as I'm talking to you.
So let's all, even though he's not my representative, why don't we all reach out to Senator Padilla and say, "Hey, how come you aren't, calling for Rodney Scott's impeachment?"
Rodney Scott must be impeached, and the Border Patrol should not be in charge of CBP or ICE. We need to have truth and reconciliation hearings so we understand what these teams have done. Um, you know, we need to clean house. We need to open the asylum system. We need to have a robust and open asylum system. We need to pull the money out of ICE and have them going back to dealing with criminals like they were
We need to
supposed
pull
to.
people out of detention, because the reports that I've seen for people that are here legally, right, is that the system there, first of all, there needs to be a pathway, and I don't, maybe you can speak to that? What about the pathway to citizenship? There isn't.
There isn't any.
It's very difficult, if at all. You can't just become a people. I get so frustrated when people go, "I don't mind the immigrants coming here. They have to come here the right way."
See,
Well,
and that's like since the 90s, we've been narrowing who can come here illegally. We just don't tell people. We're like, "Oh, there's a legal way and this and that." But every year they're like, "Okay, now these people can't do it." And on top of it, they're taking people who did come legally, and then if they had a minor criminal offense, now any kind of criminal offense, traffic violation, anything, they not paying for a fishing license can get you deported. It's ridiculous. And
yes.
so they've just been criminalizing them more and more, but they're not telling you that that's what they've been doing.
So
So
so in
there have
in
not been decent legal avenues for a long time.
in listening to them speak, Jen, I get so pissed off because I hear, it's so annoying to just see the smirk on some of these people's faces when they're referring to things, because they know, like Nome, Christy Nome is lying through
They
her
know they're lying. They know they're
loving
lying.
teeth, and she just thinks it's some sort of a joke. And when they first said, "Oh, we're only going to be getting the criminals. We're only going to be getting the criminals," knowing full well that their version of criminals was what you just described. I'm sorry, over and over again, constitutional experts, millions of attorneys across the country have said, "Sorry, hey, sorry about the dog."
Your dog's pissed off too.
Yeah, she
Get a
smacked
cat.
me. But like, so many people have said they are not, that's a civil offense. That is not a criminal offense. It's a civil offense. There is a huge difference. They do not deserve to be put into detention centers or deported.
No,
And my
no.
exchange student that I told you about, is like my third son, said to your point about the traffic violations, he had two friends that he went to school with who had a speeding ticket, and
Yep.
they were deported.
It's
2
ridiculous.
were in the middle of going to school for their
Absolutely.
degree, and they were deported.
Yep.
What?
Absolutely ridiculous. And so they're just created all these supposed criminals, and they just flat out lie to the press, and the press, unfortunately, just keeps printing their lies. They don't even question them. They're like, now I think the latest count, they said, "Our assaults have increased 8,000%." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sure, whatever." But, it's like, it just they're just they're just not willing to address the realities, and the media just seems happy to go along with it and not tell you the truth of what's going on. But we down here have known what these agencies are. We've been screaming our heads off. It's too bad that, and let me tell you, the Latinos have been screaming their heads off down here a
Good,
lot longer than I have. It just took
good.
a white ex agent to come out and say something about it. But I'm gonna keep fighting. I thank you for going on live with me. I do not like to go on live because people are nasty, but
I don't care
but
about people anymore. I don't.
yeah, I don't
I
care
have
anymore.
to give. I think you
Yeah,
did great. I appreciate you, asking, and, I'm glad
yeah.
we could talk about it and process it, and all I can say is, please, guys, make sure that you're uplifting what Jen has, to offer in terms
And what
of.
Lisa has to offer, you've got some really good analysis of these things.
Thank
So
you, I appreciate that, but I'm not the person that needs to go on to every platform and start talk I mean, I would, but you have the experience. I we need everybody needs to hear what's happened. Uplift the, documentary on HBO Max, Jen's book, Against the Wall. People, if it you can't even just make sure you go watch it, because I'm telling you, once you see it and you hear it, this what we're talking about right now, this live, once you
everything that you're seeing, the violence you're seeing on your streets will make sense.
exactly. Yep,
Yeah.
because it
And
did,
you'll know who these people really are. They will wrap themselves in flags.
and
They will
Bible
sit up there
verses.
and swear an oath to the Constitution, but they're lying. They are not patriots. These people who are in charge and power right now, they are not patriots. They are terrorists. And they are destroying this country and
Speaking
destroying
of
anything the Constitution even talks about.
speaking of, I just wanna mention that I just came back from DC because I went to a a procl a democracy live conversation that Jim Acosta, Glenn Kirshner, Michael Fanone was there, Olivia Troy, Miles Taylor. So we got to hear from Harry Dunn. There was 2 other gentlemen who were Capitol Police, because I went there to listen, to honor them, because on Jan 6th, I went to this presentation. It was incredible, and I'm sitting there watching 4 men who defended our lawmakers at our nation's capital, some of which who were left for dead. Michael Fanone was tased, had a heart attack. Um, Many of them had been, well, all of them had been attacked, brutally attacked. Some of them couldn't work anymore, right? And
Mm,
our nation turned their back on them. They won't even acknowledge them. And instead of on that day, that 5 years later, instead of they should have been at the White House being honored for their service for protecting our lawmakers and the peaceful transfer of power. But
mhm.
instead, what they were doing was our government used public funds to create a website where to spew propaganda and bullshit lies and honor the woman who was shot, Ashley Babbitt, who was breaking into the Capitol building.
Yeah.
So, it's unfortunate that she was shot, but what's more unfortunate is that she was trying to attack the Capitol in an act of insurrection to begin with.
Mhm.
So everybody is trying to retell history and tell their version of a story to get America to buy it, including the insurrection, including what's going on with Patrol and CBP and Rodney Scott. We have to stop. I mean, truth is the only thing that is going to get us to the other side of this.
Mhm.
That's
And
it.
being willing to call people out and saying the things that you're afraid to say. That
Yeah.
I'm sorry, border patrol agents and immigration agents in general are actually, as a population, committing more violent crimes than the immigrants they arrest. I hate to tell you that, but that's the truth.
Say it
And they
one
get
more
away.
time out loud because I just want to hear it again. Every,
Immigration agents commit more violent crimes as a population than the people they are arresting every year.
let that set in, folks. That is tremendous. And that's why we need to change.
Yep.
We need to change it. And to me, I just got this shirt, Ruthless Patriots. I got it while I was at the presentation. That's what we need to be.
Mm.
Ruthless Patriots look like telling the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
So thank you. I appreciate
Thank
this,
you. Thank
Jenn.
you, everybody. I can't even believe almost 450 people. That's crazy. So I'm
Well,
glad we did this. Apparently, people are really mad. I needed to vent, and I was like, you know what? Let's just do it live and see how it happens. And so, yeah, I'm glad we did it.
me too. Thank you, Jenn.
I'm at least worn out a little bit, so that's good.
Me too. But I
All
appreciate
right.
you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye, everybody.
Bye,
I'll
everyone.
post it
Okay.
if I can get it to turn off.